So today's topic in the A to Z of FHIR facts, we're up to B. So B for me relates to bindings, or specifically terminology binding strengths. So when we look at coding or codable concepts within FHIR, we'll see an example, we'll see the binding strength that's related to that particular field. So it might be one of four different types. So you'll see required, extensible, preferred, and example. When I first saw these, I was so confused. I'm thinking, when it's an example, what does that mean? Why is it required? What's the difference between extensible and preferred is probably the biggest question that I had in my mind. But I thought I'd just give my understanding of the differences and where they get used and what it really means from a FHIR perspective. I will say that there is a lot of detail in the FHIR spec in this regard, so definitely go to the FHIR spec. If you click on one of the binding strengths within the FHIR spec, so patient resource, if you have a look at gender, you'll see a binding strength that's associated with that. It'll tell you all about the binding strengths and how they function and what they mean. So here we go. The first one is required. So this one's the easiest one to get your head around. You have to pick a code that's in the list of codes. So if you look at that patient resource again, if you look at gender, you see the binding strength on gender is required, meaning that I can only select from one of four values. So it's male, female, other, or unknown for that particular value set. So you have to pick one of those values. You don't have a choice. The next one is extensible. So this means that if you have an appropriate value from the value set, then you should use it. So if you're looking at the particular subset of SNOMED CT AU as an example, and you have a particular code in there that makes sense for your particular scenario, then you use it. If you can't find the appropriate value, you can add additional systems and codes to that item. If there's multiple values that you could choose from, so if there's two values that kind of relate, you pick the one that's closest to what you're trying to say with your particular FHIR resource. Next is preferred. So preferred is really similar to extensible. What it's saying is that we've selected a particular value set for this particular field, and we recommend that this is the value set that you use. So in most cases, you're going to pick an item from that value set to be part of that FHIR resource. In some implementations, that value set won't have the codes that you need. And what preferred sort of says in the spec is that you can use other value sets to bind to that particular field. It's just not recommended because it decreases interoperability. So if someone's going to read this, how do they compare it with other values that may have received from other systems or other data sources? So preferred, definitely try and pick one from the list if appropriate. And then finally, examples. Examples confused me so much. I don't know why it shouldn't be that hard, but an example is just an example of some codes that might be in the field. I'd often go through a FHIR resource looking for where I was supposed to put a type of data that I was capturing. And I'd go through the value sets and I'd say, oh, okay, here's one with an example binding, but those codes don't look like the thing that I want to put in that field. And my field kind of looks like that particular type of data, like the name of the field. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe it's a different field, or maybe I need to have an extension. Examples are just that. They're an example. You won't get all of the fields that you're expecting to see, or all of the values that you're expecting to see in those bindings, and that's okay. You know, it's meant to be used to create values that make sense to you. So whether, as part of your profile, when you're profiling, you're going to say, I'm going to limit this particular field to this other value set, which makes sense in my implementation of FHIR. So definitely read through the specification in the terminology bindings, but don't be scared around those 4 different types. They're there, and you'll see in the specification how they relate and how they get used. If you do want to find out anything more about FHIR, reach out to me at Daedalus or any of the Daedalus team, and we can talk to you about our Digital Connect for Health platform, or DC4H, which enables interoperability solutions for challenges that you may have with your healthcare environment. There's a link coming up that will take you through to the website for more information.